However, the beauty of our free system, our market, is that the market will sweep Patrick Reynolds, and I'll explain this to them. The market will get rid of me. I will not get any more speaking jobs. I will not get to speak in front of any more kids if I lie to the children. So the market gets rid of me. That's the counterbalance to free speech. But there's an old law in the books giving corporations the same right to free speech as individuals. And that's why the tobacco ads are still protected by this, by the First Amendment. And I think that one day we may have justices in the courts who will see that corporate speech, the $12.8 billion spent this year on tobacco promotions and marketing, $12.8 billion is a different form of speech than a guy who gets up on a chair and says, the sky is purple. So one day, perhaps we'll see, a different interpretation of speech which allows us to do more about this kind of marketing.
Yeah, but Congress has mandated that on the other side of the package, the health detriments have to be listed quite clearly.
Yes, we have labeling. Now that we have FDA regulation, we've got much stronger labeling on the packages. So that's the counterpoint. But one country has even gone to tombstone advertising. Tombstone packaging. They can't put color graphics and pictures on the cigarettes anymore. And they're really, I think that's where we need to go. But here it's an issue. They're still protected by free speech. I think we need to do more. Anyway, because, hey kids, buy 2 packs of Kool and you get a free stick radio. This is an actual marketing of Kool. Hey Joe, you think 2 packs is enough? Maybe we ought to give the little guys 3 packs. You think they'll get hooked? Nah, we're giving them a radio. 2 packs is enough, they'll get hooked. Now I don't know that that conversation took place, but I will enact that for the children because I think it communicates clearly who they're buying their cigarettes from. They went after kids with cartoon camel, and that's the real Joe Camel there. I got a bunch of these. I'm going to show them at least 5 or 10 of the actual Joe Camel ads because they're powerful. We haven't got time for that here. But there's the real Joe Camel, and that's how it is. Now let's show these ads here. These are the kind of ads we're not seeing in Michigan anymore that much because money isn't there anymore. We need to put it back.
this here for you so you can see what 1,200 people actually look like. Keep following them up, guys.
That hits home to a lot of children, and I love that one, because that's just U.S., 1,200 people a day here in this country. But around the world, it's several times that. And the UN World Health Organization is telling us that around the world today, when you add up the higher rates of smoking in Europe and in Asia, that 1 out of 3 people, 1 out of 3 adults alive on the planet today are addicted to smoking. 1 out of every 3 adults living on the planet is addicted to tobacco. That's when you average all the countries where they have, like China. And 40% of them are going to die from cigarettes. It means that we're going to have like 10 billion people dying from smoking in decades to come. And unless we just start to keep our kids from starting, Let's talk about, there it is, we're spending 12.8 billion. Michigan is spending a little under 400 million to counter advertising. So it's like a drop compared to what they're spending on advertising. We're spending on advertising in Michigan. Big Tobacco is spending almost 400 million here. There's your state spending. So 400 million against 2.6 million at the state level, plus 4.5 million coming in from federal funding here, 2.8 million from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, which covers things like the 1-800-QUIT line. And that's going to expire. And 1.6 million was a CDC grant that really expires this month. And I don't know if it was renewed, but it was meant to expire in April of this year. So some of this federal money is going to go away, and we're going to be left with 2.6 million against 400 million in tobacco advertising here. We've got 1.3 billion in revenue coming in from tobacco. How interesting, wow. Well, we've got cigarette taxes coming in, plus lawsuit settlement payments. Remember the lawsuits by the states to recover the cost of Medicare and Medicaid caused by smoking? And they got a big multi-billion-dollar settlement. So when you add that together with tobacco taxes, we're getting 1.3 billion a year in tobacco-generated revenue, but only 0.2% is being spent on teen smoking prevention, because the states is not required to spend any of that money on our teens. It just goes into the general fund. So the CDC recommends Michigan spend 121 million. So we're spending only 2% of what the CDC recommends for a comprehensive, effective prevention campaign here. And it ranks Michigan 42nd out of 50 states in prevention spending. And they get an F in their report card in that category, prevention. Meanwhile, we've got 18, interestingly, we are a point lower in high school smoking than the national average. So that's a good thing. I think it's because of the $2 state tax on tobacco. 15.3% of Michigan high school males use spit tobacco, a little over the national average, but I suspect it's more in rural areas, and close to 20% of all Michigan adults smoke. It's close to the national average. We've got a lot of kids exposed to secondhand smoke. Healthcare costs $3.4 billion. I'm going to move through this. States that are spending less on prevention have a higher rate of teen smoking. There's just a clear correlation between the two. You have 18,000 kids under 18 become new daily smokers every year here. Almost 300,000 kids now alive who will die from smoking. And this is significant. I put it in red because the use of smokeless tobacco and snus and orbs, all the smokeless products, is now on the rise. And significant because you can't smoke in a lot of public places, so the tobacco company is now shifting their marketing to include smokeless tobacco products. And there's a whole controversy in our movement between those who say that, well, it's less harmful, causes a lot less, doesn't cause lung cancer, causes a lot less disease, and they're right. Should we be tolerant of these smokeless tobacco products? Well, if a person is using orbs during the day or snus to get their fix of nicotine, and then they can go home at night and light up, which is what a lot of people are doing, I have a problem with it. And I think a lot of the people in my movement do too. So it's something to think about. I don't think that some of these products probably should not have been allowed to come to market, but they're out there now. Snus is one of them. Can you snooze while flirting? Again, they're not going after adults. Who flirts? It's young people. Of course, the answer is yes. There's a snoo. It came out of Sweden initially, and it delivers the nicotine. Supposedly, according to a 60 Minutes report, they don't find any mouth cancers yet, but I'm sure it's coming as the data comes in. It takes a while to get disease caused by tobacco. And I show that to the kids as well, replacing the tobacco with a diseased mouth from mouth cancer. I'm going to tell the kids that some of their heroes were not so heroic. They were taking payments from U.S. Tobacco, now owned by R.J. Reynolds. And this is an older picture, but they were on the field in those days with a wad of dip in their lips. And I'll explain to them that, you know, a few years ago, not so long ago, chewing tobacco had almost disappeared. Only a few old men were chewing tobacco. It was gone. And some young fellow at UST, US Tobacco, said, how are we going to get it popular again? Well, we'll pay baseball players endorsement fees. They'll have that round can of tobacco in their back pocket, and as they swagger across the field with that round can outlined in their back pocket, everyone will know what that is. We will put countertop displays on every convenience store and grocery store countertop by the cashier, right where they're easy for kids to steal. And don't worry, we'll replace any stolen products, Mr. Shopkeeper. Don't worry about stolen products, it's okay. We'll replace them. Just tell us how much you got stolen. And of course, the children were getting addicted. And now we've got, in most states, the countertop displays behind the counter. And I'll ask the kids, how many of you know, let's take a poll among the adults, how many of you know that when you go in a convenience store that those countertop displays are paid advertising? The store gets money every month or a substantial discount on its tobacco products for keeping that display in the store. Does anybody know that? Not among the adults. Imagine with the kids. They don't know. And I'll say to them, year after year, you remember, where did the tobacco products used to be? Next to the? Candy. Yeah, candy. Gee, who does candy appeal to, guys? And I say, you remember, I'll tell the middle school kids, you remember when you were that high and little, you probably, you know, mom may have gone in a convenience store and you saw those products next to the candy. At least the high school kids remember. But I tell you that there will be kids yelling out candy tomorrow. When I say they had the chewing tobacco next to the, and I listen, and the kids yell out candy. They remember because they were tiny. They were babies when those products were next to the candy. It was in our kids' faces. And I will ask the children how you feel about that. You didn't even know that the store was getting money every month to keep those displays in the store. And that's how they repopularized chewing tobacco, with those countertop displays. They're not heroes. That's the reality. There's the reality right there. How about that? Gross out slide, gotta show it. Before FDA regulation, after FDA regulation. I hope it makes a difference. I think we need to do more with their graphics, but First Amendment. Okay, so not very many states, only 2 of them are spending on prevention. 33 states provide funding at less than a quarter of what the CDC recommends for an effective comprehensive campaign. And 3 states, Nevada, New Hampshire, Ohio, provide no funding at all. It's a betrayal of our kids because when we took those billions in the settlement of the tobacco industry lawsuits, it was expected they were going to do more to prevent kids from smoking. But the tobacco industry lawyers got a point in there that said all that money just goes directly into the state's general funds. They were very smart because the politicians got at the money. Now, we've got, so we're spending 2% on prevention nationally of what revenue comes in from tobacco on prevention. 25-to-1 ratio of marketing to prevention spending.